Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. Today I'm going to be looking at multiple authorities. This came from a viewer, Laila, who said, can you explain what my strategy is, bearing in mind I'm a manifesting generator with my sacral and my inner authority is the emotional center. How does that really work? So I'm going to start there. In my 25 years plus of doing human design, I must have looked at, I don't know, 10,000 charts. And so I've seen every kind of variety in terms of authorities, even those people with all 9 centers filled in. So let's take the simple example first. We have a manifesting generator. So this is the sacral that will respond to something from the outside. It will rise towards it, showing it's got energy for that thing in that moment. If it doesn't rise in response to something, there's nothing really to feel about. There's nothing to do. It's not for you. But if it does rise, then you know that your inner authority is the emotional system, which processes things over time. And what does it process? It processes the response. Do I really want to put my energy into that? Do I want to put my energy into it now? Do I still want to put my energy into it as time goes by? So if your emotional system and your sacral the emotional system gets excited, the sacral rises to want to do something, you know, you're all up for it in that moment, but that's the decision. You're not here to make decisions in the moment. You're here to make decisions based on the processing of your emotional energy over time, which is why you need to wait. You need to wait for that emotional clarity that tells you you would rather do it than not do it, or rather not do it than do it, whatever it may be. So time is needed. Very different to someone who is purely sacral. They can respond in the moment. There is no processing needed. It is the response that takes them into the decision making. So let's carry on. Let's say, what happens if you have a sacral? So the response mechanism is there. It's very important. But you also have a fixed will. Now I see that there's a kind of a competition between the sacral and the will. The will is a very powerful motor. And let's take an extreme example. Let's say you have the 2145. You have this material line that goes into the throat. It means that you can, as a manifesting channel, act from your will straight away. This would not be a good idea, because we know that the sacral is basically the decision-making apparatus. So let's say you see an opportunity and your will goes, yeah, I want to do that. I want to have a piece of that, you know. I haven't got, I want to have that kind of energy that's running through it. And you make a decision based on your will, your willfulness to get involved, but you're completely ignoring the sacral. The sacral hasn't risen to that. It hasn't moved at all. It's your will that's making the decision. So what happens is you make an agreement to get involved with it, and your life energy doesn't want to get involved, doesn't want to do the work. You know, it likes the idea of the mind will like the idea of the money. The will may like the idea of the money. But the whole point is, if your energy isn't going to do the work, you're going to have to do it just from your will. And we know that the will is not designed to continue to go on and on and on. It's that burst of very powerful energy that comes out at the beginning of something, you know, that willfulness that is very tangible and powerful, but it doesn't want to keep on with the plod. So what happens is that you make a decision out of the will instead of the sacral, and it ends up as a failure, because you simply don't have the energy to keep on with whatever it is. Let's take it from the other side. Let's say that you've got a sacral and you've got a will, and not the other two centers. But the sacral responds to do something and the will doesn't want to do it. Let's say that you have the 26th gate in a fixed will. You're naturally, you have a natural pride in how you look, let's say. And the job that's involved is going to be detrimental to the way that you want to be seen by others. Maybe you get all messy, or maybe there's a chance that, you know, you're not going to do well initially when you go into it. You know, so basically, if the sacral is going for it, you have to bite the bullet. You have to bite the bullet and go into it, you know? And if you look like an idiot in the process, so be it. You know, you can rise above that. If the energy is there to move into something, and that's the strong power, you don't want to miss out on that. Because whatever it may be, maybe it's some form of training, maybe it's something that puts you in a situation or in a country that you don't want to be in. Doesn't matter. If the sacral is saying go for it, it's there to build your life. That is your inner authority, whether you want to or not. If there's energy for it, if there's a life force that goes, yes, you follow it. If we look at the spleen, let's say the spleen is separate from the sacral. Let's say it's connected to the channel of struggle. So the root and the spleen are connected, giving you splenic awareness. At the same time, you have the sacral that is not connected to the spleen. Your decision-making is there to be made with the sacral, with the response rising to something, with your energy galvanizing to get involved. Now, if you make a decision based on your awareness, your splenic awareness in the moment, that spleen can will overrule. You'll go, oh, I'm not going to get involved. Why not? Oh, I just don't feel it's right. You know, there's something off. And you're making decisions on something that you've picked up in the background energy field that doesn't quite suit you, that doesn't quite suit your purpose. But the energy to get involved is there. Now, if you ignore that, you're going to miss opportunities. You know, the individuals can become very fussy over certain things, you know, and it's something to understand that making a decision based on intuitive awareness, when you've got a sacral that's there to be involved in building your life, is a mistake. You know, the thing that puts you off in that moment may become irrelevant once you get involved with the job. It may be something that you've just picked on, some fear that you've picked up on that isn't really real, or isn't something that you can actually cope with and move on from. So that's an example of that. If you have all of them, if you have the sacral, and you have the solar plex, and you have the will, and you have the spleen, then there is going to be a mixture of inputs coming into the system. Now you know your priority, you know what your inner authority is. And if it's solar plexus, you take in all the information and you wait and you process it. If your will and sacral and spleen, well, then you're going to get information in the moment, you're going to have the energy rise or not, and you're going to have the will wanting to be involved in not. So there are going to be conflicts if you've got a lot of these centers, and even more so if you have a fixed ajna, because that is also an awareness center. It is never, I repeat, it is never a decision-making center. And yet too many people with a fixed ajna will make decisions based on what they think, which is a recipe for absolute disaster in their life. So that will confuse things even more if you've got a fixed ajna, because the ajna really wants to be in charge. It's very important to come back to the body. It's very important to follow what your inner authority is, despite conflicting information that may be coming in from other centers that are involved in as an authority. Okay, I hope I've made that clear. and something for you to think about if you've got multiple authority-making centers in your chart. Good. Hope you enjoyed that. I will see you again very soon with something completely different. Bye for now.